Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here. Today we have my brand new tier list that I started. I've been wanting to make one for a while now. I made one before. I might pop it up on the screen, I might not. But I made it once and never updated it, and I just completely redid this one from the ground up. Let's go over the key so you guys know kind of what we're working with here. The shooting star emoji means they want their dupe low sig is fine, like sig 1 to sig 20. The normal star is they want an average amount of sigs, like 60 to 100, somewhere around there. A lot of champs really get a lot of benefit from going to sig 60, and then the rest of it kind of falls off. So Scorpion, I-Bomb, those are some champs that come to mind. Obviously they get a benefit from going to 200, but their sweet spot is 60. So that's the point there. And then the star with the sparkles behind it means they want high or max sig. The handshake means they want certain synergies. The deadlift means they need some skill or finesse to be where they are at on the ranking. The brick means really solid defender, kind of like brick wall. That was the idea there. The blood drop means they want the recoil tree to be where they're at on this list. Omega Red, for example, for him to be insanely good and insanely fast for war, you kind of want to have him running the recoil tree. It makes no sense not to run it. The purple square is for mystics only. It just means ideally you need 3 out of 5 mystic dispersion. And then the black square is ideally you need 5 out of 5 mystic dispersion. So Symbiote Supreme, Man Thing, those are champs that you really want 5 out of 5 MD for. Mojo, for example, you can run him with 5 out of 5 mystic dispersion as long as you're used to it, but if you run 3 out of 5, that's going to be plenty. He puts a lot of buffs on the opponent that expire quickly. If you're not careful, you'll shoot past your special 2 and go to your special 3, which isn't a huge deal. It's just a lot slower than just dropping special 2s. So less power is good with Mojo there. The Black Heart is a champ I'm kind of biased about. I like them a lot, so you'll see Overseer, Night Thrasher, Surfer. They have the Black Heart. That's kind of just to show you guys that I do have my opinions in here. The chart up and chart down is going to show where their value's at in terms of all the game modes and compared to all the other characters. So you'll see certain characters on the tier list right now that have the chart with an upwards trend. That means recently something's changed in game to where they're more useful or they have a use now. And then chart down is the same thing but opposite. So things have changed where they're just not as useful as they used to be. And then the Karate G, that's the little karate suit. That's a character Karate Mike is currently on a tirade with, and he's insufferable about them. So Icarus and Howard the Duck are champs he's super insufferable about. And then the sparkles next to a character, it's going to be before their name. That will indicate that they're brand new or their kit recently got buffed. So starting with the new champs this month, Attuma and Shuri, and then we also have Rocket who got buffed. We're going to start with Shuri. Common question anyone asks about any character is, do they need their dupe or not? Shuri doesn't really need it, but you get a decent benefit. Right out of the gate, it's signature level 1. You can now block unblockable special attacks, and then the part that scales with the signature ability level is the perfect block chance based on armor up passives. So does she need high sig? No, absolutely not in my opinion. We'll get to that in a second, but initial dupe is nice to have because you can block unblockable specials. That's a common thing from certain mutants. Cool to have, but doesn't make or break the character at all. Her notable stats and things that she can do: her base crit rate is 0%, so she can't crit, but her crit damage rating is 308%. And I'll get into why that's cool in a second. Base block proficiency is 78.2%. That goes back to why needing the perfect block chance when your block proficiency is so high. It just makes no sense to me. It's just not a super useful signature ability, which is cool because once you get the character, they're pretty great right out of the gate. You don't need to invest all kinds of stuff, just rank them up and they're good. But yeah, it's if you have parry maxed out and block proficiency maxed out, you're likely going to have perfect parries anyways. So notable utility and abilities: all her attacks are non-contact. Her base crit rate is 0%. She can't land critical hits, but she does critical shocks, which are enhanced by the crit damage rating. So you can have really strong shocks because of the massive crit damage rating. Her ability accuracy cannot be altered, and she's also immune to precision effects that aren't her own. So if you use dexterity, you won't gain precision. And she's also immune to ability accuracy reduction, which means she's immune to neutralize, which is really cool. She's just got loads of utility. She's also immune to shock, and she gains armor up passives instead of buffs, and she has 100% uptime on shock damage over time. Once you get it rolling, you can refresh it with your heavy and your special 2. She has an untouchable passive that you get from your heavy attack based on matrix charges that can allow you to easily deal with certain annoying specials. You don't have to evade them, you just charge your heavy and you'll be untouchable for, I think it's 5 seconds. Her playstyle, you ramp to special 1 with 10 shocks, at least 4 matrix charges, you drop your special 1, that will put you at 10 matrix charges, and when you charge your heavy attack, you'll go untouchable. If you drop the heavy attack into the opponent, you'll refresh your shocks on the opponent. So you ramp to your special 2 after that, you drop it, and then you repeat doing the special 1, heavy, special 2, and then repeat. Once you're fully ramped, which I think is a 99 shock debuffs and 99 shock passives, you can start looping special 3s, which deals burst damage for each shock, I think shock effect on the opponent. And yeah, you just refresh the shocks with your heavy attack once you're fully ramped up. I don't think there's any health pool right now other than Abyss that you can do this in, because most of the time, like against Winter Soldier with a rank 3 Shuri, they're going to be dead by the time you're fully ramped. So she's got really cool damage and really cool utility, and she's immune to AAR, but I'm not entirely sure how important she'll be for super developed rosters. That's why she's kind of in the middle tier. She's still great, and I kind of want to touch on this now. If the character's in the middle or like the bottom half of the tier list, as long as they have a green color, they're good. We've gotten to the point in MCOC where there's like way more characters that are good and decent than characters that are bad, and like the color that I have here kind of like shows that. But I'm not sure how important she'll be for any game mode right now. I mean, her utility is really cool to counter mystics for war. She can't gain precision from dexterity, and then she's also immune to ability accuracy reduction, so immune to neutralize, so she's a decent counter to certain annoying mystics. Don't know how she's going to fit into the rest of the game. She's a great counter to Attuma, who we're going to talk about in a second. But yeah, I'm just not sure how great she's going to be. If she's one of your first 5 stars or 6 stars, she's going to be really cool to have. And then for Battlegrounds, her ramp is just too slow, and if you can intercept, she's pretty easy to counter on defense. So next up we have Attuma. Does he need his dupe or not? I think he does need the dupe, and I think he needs it at max sig. It just gives him so much damage that really helps him out, and it also gives him up to 90% bleed resistance, which I think is really cool. The signature ability allows him to deal thorns damage when striking whoever he's striking, so whenever he performs an attack, he has a chance to perform the thorns damage. And then with the way he works, you pretty much have a guaranteed chance to perform this thorns damage, which is pretty cool. His notable stats, he's got like really crit rating and crit damage rating. It's not a big deal because you can get precision passives and cruelty passives. And then he's got really below average block proficiency, which is at like 59%, I think. Notable utility and abilities, he's got a brand new mechanic. If you try to reduce his ability accuracy, he will gain the inverse amount. So he has reverse ability accuracy reduction. So if you place a concussion that reduces his ability accuracy by 35%, you're instead increasing it by 35%. If you use Apocalypse against him and you want to try to get rid of his like Attuma could purify stun debuffs, so every time you parry him with APOC, Attuma's going to purify it, and then APOC's going to try to reduce that chance, but instead it's going to increase the chance of it happening. So he's got a certain way to counter certain mutants, which is what we've been seeing this whole defensive design look like for quite some time now. Like Penny Parker counters True Strike, True Accuracy. True Strike is pretty common among certain Cosmic champs. They have this whole new design stance for defense where they want to eliminate some options from the class while also making others shine, which I think is really cool. In his base kit, he has 15% chance to deal thorns damage, which can increase, like I said, from the reversal of ability accuracy reduction. Base regen rate is 25%. Because you're going to have concussions on you quite frequently, but it also cannot be lowered. He can ramp up his crit damage rating and precisions with his ability accuracy reversal with his play style, which is pretty cool. But crit damage rating from cruelties, the increase will have diminishing returns. So like the difference between having 60 stacks of cruelty to 99 is going to be very minimal. I don't think you can get 99 stacks of cruelty with him often. I don't think I've ever done it. But yeah, he can have near infinite uptime on true accuracy as long as you start ramping it up, which is really cool. He's immune to incinerate at a certain ramp. He has these things called hydration stacks. He gets them on special attacks, and the way to remove those is with shock and incinerate. At 10 stacks of hydration, he goes immune to incinerate. Attuma can purify, stun, and infuriate pretty much on demand, and his heavies have a 100% chance to purify a non-damaging debuff. Remember, this can be altered by his AAR reversal, so if you have a bunch of concussions on you that come from his own kit, you can now purify multiple debuffs from his heavy attack, which I think is really cool. So like, he's a ramp up champ, but once you get him going, he's kind of nuts. And then purified debuffs or hydration convert into a concussion, reducing his AA by 50%. He can't purify concussion debuffs as well. So his play style kind of works like you want to use special ones and then weave in heavies to convert the hydration passives that you get into concussions. That happens when you use your heavy attack. So you want to do like 2 or 3 special ones, and then by then you'll have a decent amount of concussions on yourself. So when you get to your special 2, you'll trigger all these abilities. Once you get to 20 hydration passives, he's a lot easier just to play than he is like to explain his kit. But it's pretty much like special 1 2 or 3 times, weaving in heavies, and then drop your special 2. You'll be at max hydration, which means you're passively unstoppable. You have a precision passive that's pretty strong, and then the special 2 gives you cruelty passives. So he's really hard to like kind of explain. He's easier just to play and test him out yourself. He's really not that hard to actually play. Once you're ramped up, you can just keep cycling special 2s, because your special 2 gives you hydration, and then you'll already have a ton of concussions when you start using your special 2. So you can use your heavy attack to purify all those hydration passives, turn them into concussions, and you just keep that loop going where it's like special 1, special 1, special 1, and then just loop special 2s till they die. Or you can use your special 3, which puts a lot of bleeds on the opponent for each, I think, concussion, because the special 3 has a 100% chance to bleed the opponent, and then the concussions will make it happen more frequently. So he's pretty cool. Overall, I think he's neat. I think he adds like some cool design space for the devs. Overall, he's not insanely tough as a defender. It's going to be interesting to see how he fares in Battlegrounds. I think he could be really tough if he's allowed to ramp up, and his counters are kind of niche. I do think they will add a counter to him that's very specific in the near future. I have no insight on that, but that's just how it goes. Penny Parker comes out, then Hulkling and Gallon. Right now, he doesn't seem too valuable for me, at least in terms of his uses on attack. He's not insanely, like, he doesn't scream to me like, I need this character in my roster. But a lot of people kind of said like, yeah, Nimrod's cool when he came out, and then he's like a staple of the tech class. So you never know what the game's gonna do, and I do think he's gonna be valuable in the future with his AAR reversal, but right now he just doesn't really have a spot in the game, which I think will change, because the devs usually design with intent, and this shows a lot of intent. And then in Battlegrounds, I do think he could be decent on attack, but you would need to pair him with a stall defender. So like, you would want to throw like a wrench down on defense when they don't have a great counter, and then use him on attack, and then he can do decently well. But yeah, I don't know how great he's going to be on Battlegrounds attack. He's a very weird champ to gauge, because he's so new, and like his abilities are super unique, and he's like the only character who reverses ability accuracy reduction. So yeah, that's why I kind of have him in the middle right now of the class. We'll see if that goes up or down. And I do have the brick next to him, because I do think he's going to be a really decent defender, at least in war, because there's going to be more areas for him to ramp up his defensive potential. Next up, we have Rocket. Rocket got buffed, and his buff, it added a lot, but it didn't change much, if that makes sense. His identity was still there from like the, high damage, but it just added more utility. Some notable changes is that he got a massive prestige increase, and it's on par with Nimrod now. It's like 13,730, I think, at 6-star rank 3. He was given a Warlock-esque form of power control that requires you to have armor break debuff on the opponent, which passively heal blocks the opponent, and when an opponent tries to heal while passively heal blocked, they will drain in their power. So I think it's really cool that they added somebody who does what Warlock does. To get the armor break debuff, you use your special 2 or your heavy attack, and then he's got this whole new mechanic where you gain scrap when attacking an opponent. Your crits, when you deal a critical hit, you gain 2 scrap, and then you gain 3 more when it's a metal defender, which makes sense. If you're fighting metal champs, you'll get more scrap when beating them up. You have a max stack of 50. The Yondu synergy gives him a max stack of 60. It's pretty easy to ramp up, and his scrap gives him increased crit rating, so you can get almost guaranteed critical hits with him. That's the awesome thing about ramping precision, is that they're not guaranteed crits, but you might as well say they are. They're not coded as like a guaranteed crit, so you won't miss on Ebony Maw, but you'll pretty much hit crits every single hit. You can consume your scrap, because it's kind of like a currency. You can consume it on your special 1 to power drain the opponent on each hit of the special 1. Consume it for a large armor break debuff on the special 2. The special 2 armor break, its potency scales with the scrap consumed, so you can consume all scrap on the special 2, and the armor break potency will be scaled by that. Your heavy attack will also place an armor break debuff that you consume scrap for to place, and then special 3, you use all your scrap, and it inflicts a power drain that drains up to 2 bars of power based on, so you consume scrap, and it also special locks the opponent, which I think is cool. And you could also hold block for like a few seconds or something like that, not even a second, create a shield system, which increases his survivability, which I think is pretty cool. Overall though, I think Rocket has a really strong place in the game. Before, only Warlock really lived in the space that Warlock lived in, and now Rocket is his next door neighbor, if that's how you want to think about it. Passive heal block that leads to power control due to blocking any healing is amazing utility in my opinion, because that's super useful for competitive game modes like War or Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds specifically, because you want to use willpower to get your defenders to be, tankier. It's not like War where you can have somebody say, yeah, I'm going to place all these mutants that Warlock easily counters, but I'm going to turn off willpower. It's like, no, your whole deck needs to have one mastery setup. And a lot of people, I don't think I've ever seen someone not run willpower unless they just don't have it unlocked. So Rocket and Warlock absolutely shine in Battlegrounds. So Rocket is just great for that competitive content. I don't think Rocket's really better than Warlock. I think Warlock still is, a peg above Rocket, but Rocket is great. His damage is awesome. He crits almost like every single hit once you start ramping him up. Warlock does not require to have an active debuff on the opponent to passively heal block them. Rocket does. And overall, I do think Warlock's damage is more consistent, especially if you have him at Sig 200, because you can just parry heavy, parry heavy, parry heavy, and against opponents that try to heal, you degen them, and it's just a lot of damage over time. Then you can drop the special 2, which armor breaks the opponent, and yeah, it's just a good time with Warlock. But Rocket's still really great. Rocket is kind of like I think Mike told me this, you just tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, you special 2, and then you just don't worry about their power bar. Whereas Warlock, it's more like nuanced. You parry heavy, and you kind of like control their, like they just have different ways to maximize their play style. But yeah, I think Rocket is great now. He's definitely really solid, and his uniqueness in terms of power control solidifies him as a top tech champ in my opinion. So this is the part of the video where we talk about the value shifts, upwards and downwards, characters that have gotten more valuable or have lost value as the game has evolved. The game evolves pretty quickly, so every month you can see something happen, you can see something, you see characters' value go up, characters' value go down. So recently with Battlegrounds, we've had 2 seasons of it so far, and there's been a lot of characters that are like great on attack, but you only really use them in like questing content. Like Hitmonkey, for example, I think he's a great character, but I don't think anyone really used him in War, whereas he's a staple in Battlegrounds because he's just insanely fast, and he's handling like I-Bomb, Thing, other annoying characters just insanely fast. I think Battlegrounds gave these characters a spot to shine. So champs like Spider-Man's stealth suit, he's good elsewhere, but his spot is in Battlegrounds. Same with Stark Spidey, same with Sunspot. I already mentioned Hitmonkey. They didn't really have their game mode to shine in my opinion, until Battlegrounds came out, and they're just insanely fast attacking options. And if you want to have characters who just put up 40 to 50 second fights regardless of the defender, look to some of these characters. Mordo's buff, I think, really elevated him in terms of being a dual threat. Before, he was just like a defender, and he's a decent one at that. He's annoying with Mystic Dispersion. You can't really attack him after you parry him, parry stun him. So he's kind of decent, but now with his buff, he's really, really strong on attack. You can easily put up 52,000, 53,000 point fights with him in Battlegrounds. He's a great Hulkling counter. He can counter Gallon decently well. He's really strong. His heavy attack is really strong. He's just generally good. He's a really good character now. I don't have him super high up on the chart because he's just not like better than everybody else. But if you want a strong dual threat, look to Mordo. He's really solid. And then two characters that I do want to highlight that have massive value shifts up are Rintrah and Domino. Let's start with Rintrah. I think everyone knows he's great. If you don't, you've been probably living under a rock. But he continues to shine in like almost every single new Battlegrounds meta. It's just like no matter what meta is ahead of you, he's either just a pain to fight on defense or he's insanely fast on attack. This meta that we have right now, or the one that we just had, the crit me with your best shot or whatever, he can have like 30-second fights consistently because you're just getting guaranteed crits on the special too. And then he's also really annoying to fight because you normally want characters with like large damage over time to counter him. I know like Stealthy and Starky can counter him, but he's just an amazing dual threat. He might be the best dual threat character in Battlegrounds. I don't think I've ever gotten to use mine. I take that back. I might have been able to use him like once or twice out of like 60 something matches, but like mine's banned almost all the time. Rank 4 Sig 200 Rintrah just banned, and you know that's pretty cool. Also, Domino signature ability is super important for Battlegrounds defense. They open the floodgates of the 6-star Sig stones, so more and more people are ranking up and sigging up their Dominos. She's just a beast on defense. You need a counter, otherwise you're taking tons of chip damage, and that's what you kind of want out of a defender in Battlegrounds. Like you could use Warlock and have a great fight, but the crit failures can just chip your damage or chip your health all the way down to like 60-50%, and you could think you had a good fight, but then you see the opponent who did the same amount of time as you but more health. She's a great defender, and then she's also a really decent dual threat. She could put up insanely fast fight times, and especially with certain metas, like this crit me with your best shot meta. You get an intercept and you just start doing crazy shit because you're getting guaranteed crits. She's nuts, and I think the accessibility of Sig Stones and Battlegrounds has really solidified her spot in game. She was always known as a really decent defender in War. Never really known as an insanely strong attacker. I know some people swore by her, but yeah, she's just, I think she's found her place and kind of had her resurgence, if you want to say that. I do want to highlight one character, and it's a character I'm very biased towards, and that's Night Thrasher. Recent champs who have been kind of annoying to fight on defense, he counters them pretty darn well. Omega Sentinel's kind of annoying. She has a really annoying auto block mechanic, and then when she auto blocks you, she incinerates you. He's immune to incinerate, and he has true accuracy on all mediums, heavies, special 1, special 2. So he just counters her pretty well. Yeah, he's pretty great for her. And then Spot, brand new science champ, who if you give time to ramp up, he can be insanely annoying on defense. He's shut down by Disorient. Night Thrasher has 100% uptime on Disorient so long as you could refresh it. And then Quicksilver, an annoying science champ. Night Thrasher kind of counters him pretty well too. So yeah, Night Thrasher, I just think he's kind of had like this resurgence of like being a decent counter. Like I saw when Mr. Negative came out, he's shut down by Disorient. Night Thrasher's a great counter to him, and I was hoping that it would happen more to where like they use Disorient as a way to shut down a character's abilities, but they just did it again with Spot, which I think is really cool. And then Iceman has kind of seen a resurgence due to certain synergies, just powering up his damage and kind of modernizing his kit a bit more, just making him keep up with the rest of the mutant class. But if you get him early on with his synergy partners, his utility is like triple immunities, and his damage is just going to carry you pretty far in MCOC. So he's definitely seen a little bit of a resurgence. I don't think he's going to go up too far. I do want to also say these value shift upward doesn't mean that these characters are moving up in the tier. It just means that, hey, they have a new use that's pretty cool. Some downward shifts in terms of value are Quake and Magic. 7 stars have been announced, and 6-star Quake and Magic have yet to be seen. Therefore, their relevancy is going down despite how strong they are as 5 stars. Don't think I have to say much about that. Once you start getting for 7 stars, ranking them up, you don't want to use a 565 Quake to try to take down a 7-star. So it's just going to be a way of phasing those characters out because they're pretty strong. iHulk, in my opinion, has kind of lost some value because he just doesn't have much content to shine in, which kind of bums me. In Battlegrounds, he's a decent defender, but he has zero dual threat purpose. Like, why are you going to use him on attack if you're just going to self-damage yourself and have this tighter window of getting your immortality to regen you as soon as you KO the opponent? It's tighter than Nick Fury's. He's just not that great for Battlegrounds attack. If you guys want to prove me wrong and you're an iHulk fanboy, please do it. He's also useless on War Attack currently because his self-damage mechanic, and he's also vulnerable to ability accuracy reductions, so they could fail your immortality. I feel like he's kind of lost his spot, and he just doesn't have much use in a roster. He's a cool weapon to have just in your back pocket, but he's not needed at all, in my opinion. Same goes for Guillotine 2099, all the same exact things, although she's a little bit more generally useful in War Attack. Everything else I said about iHulk kind of fits Guillotine 2099 too. Sorcerer Supreme has kind of seen her value drop, in my opinion. Her time will come again, I think, but currently she has like zero relevancy in Battlegrounds on defense and attack, and she's just heavily outclassed in War currently. So I do think she's still an amazing champ, and I don't want to move her down in the tier list because of it, but she has definitely seen her better days. And then the last champ I really want to talk about is Sauron. I think everyone thought he was going to be this like pain in the ass defender, but he's just easily shut down by most modern tech champs. Nimrod is like the most notable one, but you can use Hulkbuster, Warlock, Omega Sentinel, Sam Cap, and you could also just play around him as long as you respect his kit with like any other character. So he has like little to no dual threat potential on a deck. I don't even think he has much defensive threat on a deck. I just don't think he's that great, and he probably won't be for a while until he gets buffed. But yeah, that's it for this tier list. If you guys enjoyed it, if you guys want me to make this like a monthly thing, let me know. I kind of want to. It'll be fun, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I wrote a script, so I don't know if you guys noticed when I'm looking that way. I'm kind of like reading the script because, you know, this can't really see this spreadsheet on my thing. I didn't want to have it open because the lighting gets bad, but you know, you guys probably don't care about that. But yeah, comment below what you guys think. I know that guy putting in an opinion out on the internet is gonna lead to certain comments, but it's whatever. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, hit like, subscribe if you're new. If you already subbed, you know I love you. See you guys for the next video. Peace out.